There is a beach in the British Virgin Islands where you swim through caves made of granite boulders the size of houses. It might be the best hour you can spend anywhere in the Caribbean, and it sits on Virgin Gorda, the next island over from Tortola. That tells you the main thing. Tortola is not really the destination, it is the doorway. You dock here, sleep here, and use it as the launch pad for the best days on the water out here. So here are the real things to do in Tortola, British Virgin Islands. So let me start with those boulders. The place is called the Bass, and it takes the #1 slot even though it is a 40-minute ferry away on Virgin Gorda. The boulders run along a whole stretch of coast, tumbled together and leaning on each other, and the gaps between them have filled with clear turquoise water. You walk down through it, ducking under one boulder, scrambling over the next, wading across shallow pools, until you come out on a little beach called Devil's Bay. The best part is a chamber people call the Cathedral Room, where the rock leans together overhead and the light comes down in shafts onto the water. From the dock on Virgin Gorda, it is a short ride to the top of the trail, and then you climb down through the rocks to the sea. I would get on the first ferry of the day for this, and I have. One warning, the crossing gets rough, so sit inside the cabin and take something for seasickness before you board. Cane Garden Bay is the beach on every postcard, and it earns the #2 slot. It is a long, calm crescent of sand on the north shore, with a green mountain behind it and beach bars right on the water. Genuinely lovely in the morning. Now I will be straight with you here. This is the beach every cruise guide sends everybody to, so on a day with 2 or 3 ships in port, it packs out, and people turn up at lunchtime and cannot find a patch of sand. Go early, take the morning, be gone before the crowd lands, and the quieter beaches are coming, including the one I actually prefer. While you are here, walk over to the Callwood rum distillery, right in the bay. They have been making rum on this spot for around 400 years. There were once more than 100 distilleries across these islands, and Callwood is the only one still working. 4 generations of the same family, same recipe. The tasting costs next to nothing, a couple of dollars for a line of their rums, and it is a good stop even if you never touch the stuff. Back out on the water for #3, an empty little island called Norman Island. The story goes that this is the place that gave Robert Louis Stevenson the idea for Treasure Island, after gold coins turned up here years ago. There are sea caves cut into the base of the cliffs at a spot called Treasure Point, and you swim right into them, coral and sponges all over the walls, fish everywhere. What you come for is the snorkeling, so bring a mask and fins and go early before the day boats crowd the anchorage. When you climb out, there is a floating bar anchored just offshore called the Willie T, an actual boat you climb aboard named after a man, William Thornton. It fires a cannon at happy hour and gets exactly as rowdy as a floating bar in the Caribbean sounds. There is a beach club on the sand too, called Pirate's Bite if you want your feet on solid ground. Snorkel the caves, then go have a drink over the water. That is a full, easy day. #4 is the day trip nobody around here stops talking about. Another short ferry, this time out to Jost Van Dyke. You are going for one beach, White Bay, and one bar sitting on it, the Soggy Dollar. The water there is the calm, waist-deep kind you can stand around in for hours. My favorite part, though, is how the bar got its name. There is no dock, so to reach it you swim in from your boat, which means you wade up dripping and pay with wet money. It is also where the Painkiller was invented back in the 70s, that rum drink with pineapple, coconut cream, orange juice, and fresh grated nutmeg on top. A few steps down the sand is Foxy's, a beach bar and barbecue that has been an island institution since 1968, with Foxy himself often there playing guitar. This is no quiet corner, it is a full-blown scene, and it is the good kind. It is the one excursion people tell me they would do again in a heartbeat. Before #5, one practical note, because the boat days are where this trip is won or lost. A good local operator runs small groups and knows the ferry timings, which matters a lot when a cruise clock is ticking. The 2 I would book, plus a guide that has saved me real money out here, are down in the description. Sort them out early in your planning, because the best boats fill up. Right onward. Smuggler's Cove is #5, and it is the beach I would send you to over Cane Garden Bay if you only get one. Out on the far northwest tip of the island, you get soft white sand, calm shallow water so clear you can watch fish around your feet, and snorkeling that could not be easier. No boat, just wade out off the sand. The catch is the road in. It is rough and rocky, and the taxi I took rattled like it was coming apart. There are almost no facilities out here, so bring your own water and something to eat. What you get back is the quiet Caribbean beach everyone thinks they are booking and mostly does not get. If it happens to be busy, ask a driver for Brewer's Bay or Josiah's Bay, two more local favorites the tour buses skip. I would take that rattling road again tomorrow. For altitude instead of sand, head up to Sage Mountain. That is number 6. At 1,716 feet, it is the highest point on Tortola and the tallest in all the Virgin Islands, British and American both. There is a national park up top, set aside back in 1964 to protect the last patch of the island's original forest, and it feels like another country from the beaches below. You walk shaded trails through actual rainforest, mahogany and old cedars, mist hanging in the branches, and every so often the green opens up and you are looking out over a scatter of islands across the sea. There are about a dozen loop trails up here, so you can make it a short stroll or a proper hike. The drive up alone earns the trip, a steady climb on a narrow road with the coast dropping away below you. Give it about 2 hours and wear real shoes because the trails turn to mud after rain. Number 7 is underwater, and it is for the divers. In 1867, a ship called the Rhone sank off Salt Island in a hurricane. It was a Royal Mail ship, which back then meant a big steamer that carried the post and passengers across the Atlantic. The captains figured it was too late in the year for a real storm and chose to ride it out. They were wrong. The hurricane caught them, and when the cold sea hit the vessel's hot boilers, it blew apart and broke in two. It is now one of the finest wreck dives in the Caribbean. Over 300 feet of ship spread across the bottom, coral growing over the propeller and the rigging, fish living inside the hull. They filmed the movie The Deep on it. The two halves sit at different depths, the bow deep at around 80 feet and the stern up in the shallows, so it usually takes 2 dives to see all of it, and a couple of the strangest things on this list are still to come near the end. Over the treetops now. Number 8 is a zipline, the original Virgin Canopy tour, and it runs off the top of a place called Johnson's Gut. A gut out here is simply the local word for a steep ravine. You clip in and ride a series of 7 cables from one platform to the next, high over the forest, green hills on one side and blue water on the other. On a clear day, you can see all the way to St. Croix. The whole run takes under an hour, and they fit you with the gear and walk you through it first, so it works for nervous first-timers and kids too. You do have to book ahead. It is reservations only, but it is a fun, quick shot of adrenaline if the beaches are starting to blur together. Little Bay number 9 is a beach most people who visit Tortola leave without ever hearing about. A tiny cove out on the east end, maybe 100 meters of white sand, tucked away and almost always empty. To get there, you turn off near the East End police station and grind up and over a steep, rough track, so you want a proper 4-wheel drive or a taxi that knows the way. There is nothing out there, no bar, no lifeguard, so pack in what you need and watch for fire ants in the scrub behind the sand. Bring a mask if you have one, because the water is calm and clear enough to snorkel the edges. A whole beach to yourself, which on a busy island day is a rare thing. Walk into the capital for number 10, Road Town, and give it more of a chance than most people do. The first couple of blocks look rough, and that is exactly where cruisers give up and head back to the ship. Push past it. There is a covered market where locals shop for spices, and you smell it a block before you reach it. Vanilla and cinnamon and nutmeg and curry blends, bags of it going for a few dollars, plus local hot sauce and the check cloth they call madras. The market shuts around 1 in the afternoon, so go in the morning. Nearby is Crafts Alive Village, a cluster of little painted huts selling island jewelry, carvings, and hand-sewn dolls, and up on the hill sits Fort Burt, an old stone lookout that is mostly an excuse for a great view over the harbor. One practical note while you are in town: the taxis only take cash, there is no Uber anywhere on the island, and a driver will happily wait and bring you back if you ask, so sort that out before you set off. Up in the North Hills is number 11, Mount Healthy, and this one is a quick stop. It is the last windmill left standing in the British Virgin Islands, the stone tower of an 18th century sugar plantation built from rough fieldstone and once used to grind cane that enslaved Africans were forced to cut on the slopes around it. Across the road, you can still make out the ruins of the old works. 10 minutes on the way past, a bit of real history, and back in the car. One that genuinely surprised me is number 12, out on a small private island south of Tortola called the Ariel. There is a rescue operation there called Redemption Ranch, with horses, ponies, and, believe it or not, zebras. You go across for the day, meet the animals, hear how each one was rescued, feed them by hand, and yes, you can get nose to nose with a zebra for a photo. It costs a fair bit, and you book it ahead as part of a day at the resort, so it is a proper splurge. But the people who make the trip come back grinning, and it is not the kind of thing you forget. Fast favor before the last stretch. If you have got this far, tapping the like button really helps this reach other people planning the same trip. That is the whole ask. Back to it. The honest low point is number 13, Tortola Pier Park, the shopping and dining complex they built right at the cruise dock. Dozens of shops, a handful of restaurants, sometimes a bit of live music. It is a perfectly nice cruise port mall, fine for the last hour before your ship leaves, or a cold drink and a photo of the harbor. But you did not fly to the Caribbean for a mall, and I would rather you were out on that boat to Norman Island. Still, it is right there at the dock, so now you know what it is. Aragorn's Hill Farm is number 14, and it is one a normal list would skip entirely. Good Moon Farm is an organic spread up on the North Shore, run since 2005 by a man named Aragorn Dick Reed and his wife. He plants by the phases of the moon, uses no chemicals, and he runs farm tours that start on his balcony with bush tea, cassava bread, and whatever fruit is ripe, while he tells you the whole story of how these islands used to feed themselves. They do farm to table dinners up there too, with a view over the entire coast, and there is a little cottage you can rent for the night. Word is even Richard Branson has turned up for lunch, and given the man owns an island a short hop from here, I believe it. This was the thing I did not plan on my trip and remember most. Time your visit right, and number 15 comes to you. The BVI Emancipation Festival is the island's biggest party of the year, and it marks something serious, the freeing of enslaved Africans across the British Islands back in 1834. It runs the last week of July into early August, centered on Road Town, and it fills the streets with soca bands, steel pan, dancers in huge bright costumes, food stalls, and boat races. The big parade lands in early August, though they have moved the exact day around lately, so check before you build a trip around it. Book a room early if you are coming for it, because the island fills up fast that week. If your dates line up, it is worth planning around. What you eat is number 16, and it is the right note to finish on. The national dish here is fish and fungi. The fish is usually fresh snapper, and fungi is a smooth cornmeal and okra side, which despite the name has nothing to do with mushrooms. Look for callu, a rich green stew, and for pate, a fried pastry pocket stuffed with meat or fish that you grab from a roadside stand. Try the conch fritters and a roti, which is a warm flatbread wrapped around curry. Chase a bit of soursop juice if you spot it. On weekend nights, the locals set up food in the parking lots around town, and that is where the real jerk chicken lives. Do not skip a proper rum punch either, which goes down easier than it should and costs about half what a cocktail runs back home. Wash it all down with a painkiller, and you have come full circle to that bar on Jost Van Dyke. So, is Tortola worth it? If you are picturing a polished resort where everything is handed to you, this is the wrong island, and those are the people who leave let down. What Tortola actually gives you is a friendly, easygoing hub where the money is US dollars and nobody is in a hurry, the quiet beaches and the rainforest and the 400-year rum that the day trippers race straight past, and a short boat ride to the boulders at the Bast, the caves at Norman Island, and that swim-up bar on Jost Van Dyke. Sleep on Tortola and spend your days on the water all around it. Do that, and it turns into one of the best weeks you can have anywhere in the Caribbean.